The Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire was a man-made disaster, a tragedy of the industrial age, made all the worse because it could have been prevented. Let me set the scene. New York City, early 20th century. The Triangle Shirtwaist factory occupied several floors of a Manhattan business building called the Ash Building. It was located just off Washington Square Park, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city. The Triangle Shirtwaist factory was, by almost any definition, a sweatshop. It was a densely packed place. Some 500 people worked there, and the work schedule was punishing. 11 to 12 hours a day, every day. Most of the people employed at the factory were young immigrant women.
The Triangle Shirtwaist Company was located on the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors of the 10-story Ash Building in New York City. Flammable textiles were stored throughout the factory. Scraps of fabric littered the floors. Patterns and designs on sheets of tissue paper hung above the tables. Smoking was common. Light was provided by open gas lighting with no fire extinguishers.
Fire. Of the 4 elevators accessing the factory floors, only one was operational, and of the 2 stairways down to the street, one was locked from the outside to prevent theft, while the other stairway door opened inward. On Saturday afternoon, March 25th, 1911, 600 workers were crammed into their sewing stations when a fire broke out in a rag bin. A manager attempted to put it out, only to discover that the fire hose had rotted, while the valve was rusted shut. Panic ensued, as a long line of workers queued before an elevator that held only 12 passengers at a time. When it broke down amidst the heat and flames, terrified workers plunged down the shaft to their deaths. Others fled down the stairwells, only to burn to death when they reached the inoperable outside doors. Others jumped to their death from inadequate fire escapes.
And now for a moment of silence for those who lost their lives on this day.
From the New York World. It's an eyewitness account by Frances. And she said that, "My cousin Rosina kissed me goodbye and said, 'I believe I'm going to die.' The flames swept about us as we neared the elevator door. She rushed for the elevator shaft, and that's the last I saw of her. My face and hair were burned, but I got to the roof and was rescued." Okay, but there's an interesting story behind that. Where was Santina and Josie Del Castello? According to one of my cousins who had spoken to Frances back in the 1930s, when there was the initial stampede and rush for the doors, Josie Del Castillo fell and got trampled and got hurt, apparently broke her leg. And Santina, her best friend, wouldn't leave her. She stayed with her and she told the other 2 girls, "Run, go save yourselves." And so they ran to the elevator and they left the other 2 girls behind, and they both died of smoke inhalation.
Come downstairs, she come out her apartment with her baby with no shoes on. I said, "Oh, girl, it's cold outside." She said, "Something ain't right." I said, "Oh, man." She said, "Oh, man, the building is on fire." I said, "No, what?" I got my 3 kids and we bounced out. We ain't gonna be in no fire, not today.
But now, something extraordinary began to occur. From the ashes of the Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire would begin to arise one of the most dramatic and far-reaching political transformations in American history.
It was a kind of a moment that the city could no longer ignore the reality that had been with the city for decades of what a sweatshop was. The whole city felt involved in those bodies that were thudding to the pavement. I mean, you couldn't say they don't relate to us. The impact of this one fire, the horror of the bodies.
Fire had a significant impact on American society, leading to the passage of new labor laws and workplace safety regulations, as well as the mobilization of support for progressive causes. The tragedy also inspired a new generation of activists who saw the need for collective action to improve working conditions and labor rights. As we remember the victims of the Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire, we must also remember the lessons it taught us about the importance of protecting workers and ensuring their safety in the workplace.